We have several donations from Target. The high school, $3,106.89. The Street Middle School, $573.97. Udall Road School, $461.07. Bayview Elementary, $699.54. Old Balloon, $1,180.17. Mattock Elementary, $931.53. And Okanock Elementary, $877.35. From Stop and Shop, the Bayview Elementary School, $1,602. And from the Beach Street PTA for assembly programs, $2,540. May I have a motion to approve the donation?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Item D are two special education contracts for July 1st, 2012 through June 30th, 2013. First is with Henry Viscari School, and the second is with St. Anne Institute. May I have a motion?
So moved. Second. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
We have a few items to surplus: 1994 Chevy van, audio-visual equipment, electronic balances, graphing calculators, and the water damage wrestling nets. May I have a motion to approve the surplus equipment?
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Duffy. I'd like a motion for the approval of the memorandum of agreement with the paraprofessionals for the related to the workday when students are not at school. Can you back up?
So moved.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. And I'd also just like to let everybody know that Atlantic Auto Mall recently approached the district about the Massera property. And in accordance with good business practices, we met with their management to discuss possible arrangement, basically to see what they were thinking. We explained to them that we were not interested in or able to sell the Massera property. And at this point, we have some conversation going on. I can't really get into it. We have no agreements in place. We're basically exploring various options that could be beneficial to the district in terms of resources. So as this proceeds forward, we will keep you abreast of the situation, possibly have public hearings on it. And again, I will state that this has nothing to do with selling Massera. We will not be selling Massera. We will not be moving BOCES. And in addition, it has nothing to do with the Westbrook property. Superintendent's report, Mr. Simon.
Thank you very much. I thought tonight would be a good night to give the community an update on our redistricting and how we're doing now that we are in our second month of the school year. Before I came tonight, I took a look at our current enrollment, particularly in our K-5 buildings. There has literally been a net change of a total of 1 student since we opened in September. So our enrollment is very steady in our 4 elementary schools. And we continue to monitor that, but are very pleased with the balance we have and the class sizes. As Mr. Brady referenced earlier when he gave his buildings and grounds report, we are continuing to look at the reallocation and utilization of various spaces in the 4 elementary buildings. And he mentioned in particular, as an example, in Bayview, we have added a number of spaces for reading services, for speech services, and as recently as today, I met with Mr. Mullins and with Mr. Bossi. We think we have a plan in place that we should be able to complete in the next few weeks to address some of those concerns at Bayview. And we continue to look at all 4 of our buildings. It is a work in progress. We have really gone through an enormous change over the last few months. I think much more than people realize because it's been handled so smoothly and so well. For instance, at Manitowoc, we are adding an additional reading teacher, which the board approved, based on taking a look at the need for services, and now we're working to make sure that we have a space, an appropriate space for that person to conduct those reading services. That's just another example of, as we move forward this year, we're evaluating each of the adjustments we made, and where need be, we'll make further adjustments to make sure that we get the best possible environment for our staff and our students. Also wanted to mention in light of these adjustments, the 4 elementary principals have been tweaking both the procedures at dismissal and at lunch, and we'd ask the community's patience and understanding as we look to find the best arrangements and the safest arrangements, and certainly ask all parents to abide by and work with us as we try to make dismissal, in particular, a safe experience for all people. On a very different subject, I would like to personally just say a few words about the lady who's sitting down to my left, your right, Jane Coper, who you heard earlier, after 32 years, is retiring. Tomorrow night, we're going to have a lot of fun, because tomorrow night we're going to get together to have a party to really honor Jean. I'm not going to repeat some of the things that might be said tomorrow night. It'll be good fun for us. But I do want to tell you that for many people in this community, the voice that you first hear when you call West Islip with a question or need help is Jean Coper. She's who you get. She is my administrative assistant. And I hear many of those conversations, certainly her end, because her desk is right outside my door. I continue to be impressed with her patience, her understanding, her wealth of knowledge, her willingness to spend whatever it takes to help community members, parents, staff members, get the information that board members, superintendents in particular, get the information they need, and come away having been heard and knowing where to go to deal with whatever their issue is. And I just want to tell you, I personally am going to miss having someone with that wealth of knowledge and skills that she has. I want to thank you for your service to our district, and particularly to me, in helping make my transition to West Islip, I think, go really smoothly. And I want to wish you and your family all the best. So thank you, Jean. I also would be remiss. Jean is here and has been sitting in the seat at board meetings for a couple of years now, as she also has served as our district clerk. And the lady sitting just to Jean's right, to your left, probably a face that you don't recognize, is Mary Hawk. She is the administrative assistant to our assistant superintendent for business, and she will be taking over the role of district clerk. So she'll be sitting in Jean's seat starting at the next board meeting officially. I wanted to welcome Mary, and just so the audience knows who's up here, that she'll be taking the minutes and serve as the official record keeper of our board meeting. So welcome, Mary. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Simon. Okay. Are there any notices or reminders? Any other items for board members' information? All right. The moment we've all been waiting. Diane Martin.
Tonight I'm speaking not only as a teacher aide that has worked for the district for 15 years, but as a taxpayer. Okay, since the 2 schools were closed, Mr. Simon, we have had 3 new students in Manitowoc in a week and a half. So we are now up to 587, and we have more students at our school than Beach Street Middle School. When I went on the website to get the agenda, I noticed the September minutes were there, which I did not attend last month's meeting. I was totally dismayed of what I saw in regards to stipends and 3% raises to administrators. I know that they've been given a lot more work since Dr. Pave left and Lou Sophia left, but we've all done a tremendous amount of work. I worked with this district for 15 years, and I made $24,000 with no benefits, and I had to fight for a 1% raise for my girls. Okay, I am the president of the teacher aides. What goes on in the buildings, I'd like to know from every member of the board, when was the last time you were in an elementary school?
We were in the elementary schools right before school opened.
No, I mean since school's opened. Has anybody gone into a nurse's office and looked in her medicine closet? We're talking now about evacuation policies. There is no way that our nurse could get all those meds out. With 3 diabetics, she's got medicine not only on the door now, but she has to go into her closet because of the amount of medications that she has for almost 600 children. Okay? Mr. Simon, I had asked you at one time if we could not get a health aide for the nurses in the elementary schools. Those children are very needy, more so than the high school and middle schools. It's not just bloody noses. It could be seizures. It could be cancer, children with cancer. We have 3 diabetics, kindergarten, 4th, and 5th grade. These nurses don't even get 15 minutes uninterrupted lunch. Okay? I am really concerned. The teachers, what they have to go through with all of these meetings that they're going to. We used to, 4 years ago, have an aide that would do all the copying, do the laminating, do whatever the teachers needed. They were an extra hand for the teachers. No, we had to get rid of them. Starting an aide, makes $16,000, $2,000 more dollars than people that make 6 figures got as a stipend. I really think it's an injustice to the nurses, to the teachers. I'm not just looking to get more aides. Our teachers are going through a lot right now. They haven't got 5 minutes to themselves. If they have to do copying or anything, they do it on their lunch. They don't even have time for preps because of all the meetings that they're going to and all of the conferences that they have to go to. And I know that that's state mandated, and that can't be fixed. They have to go for this training. But then you're also paying for subs. So if we close 2 schools to save money, where is the salary of the 2 nurses that were let go? Where is the salary of the 2 principals that are not there anymore? I don't understand why some of that money can't be put towards the children and the help of the teachers and the nurses. I mean, it's really scary when I go into the nurse's office and I do the attendance in Manitowoc. I've always done the attendance. Because when I was hired in 2001, we had 594 children in that school. As of last year, we had 448. So I understand that the enrollment really went down. But I was hired to do the attendance because Mrs. Harsh could not do it and take care of all the children coming in for whatever reason and answer phone calls and make phone calls to find out why the children, because the parents don't call. So I have to call the parents and tell them, why is your child not in school? But now I'm the only aide that does that because of the amount of people. Now all the 4 schools are really backed up, and I don't think that the nurses should have to do that. Or at least give the nurse, a health aide that could do it for her. Or answer some of the questions, aside from the phone ringing, and the bloody noses, and the broken bones that come in. We have needy children in the elementary schools. Granted, you need, for the amount of children that are in the high school, you need many nurses. But in the middle school, they only have 1 nurse, but they're not as needy as kindergarten children who are wetting their pants. We used to have aides in the classroom with the kindergarten teachers. They're not there anymore either. You have 4- and 5-year-olds. Some of the kids come in, they're 4. They're not 5 until November. So you'll have people coming in, and the teachers are pulling their hair out. It's too much. I guess that's pretty much what I wanted to say, but I really think that it's almost like health hazard. That I think that the teachers were given a substitute nurse to help them 5 days through when they're doing testing. Okay, so they're doing vision and hearing, or the doctor comes in for physicals. The nurse still has to do all the BMIs. She has to do the weight and height. The doctor doesn't do that. So they need help. The nurses need help and the teachers need help. So I think maybe you could come around and look at a nurse's closet to see how much medication she has. Or talk to them and find out what their concerns are. Anything?
I'd like to make a couple of comments, so I just want to be sure you're done.
Okay, yeah.
Great. I think your comments reflect a degree of frustration that many of us feel at all levels as change brings about a lot of anxiety and a lot of frustration. We've said all along that these are complicated and difficult times. And I know from meeting regularly with the elementary principals, as they are in the midst of going through this transition, how much pressure they feel, and a desire to want to do everything to the very best of their ability and to do it as perfectly as possible. And as you make the kind of changes we are making, it doesn't happen overnight. So one of the things that we have done is we've opened up a regular dialogue between myself and Mrs. Burns and the elementary principals. And we've really encouraged them to look at the overall issues in their building and to come to us with suggestions where we can provide additional help and support for them. And that's a dialogue that we're having. We don't want to rush to judgment because our resources are limited. We want to make sure that we use whatever we might be able to gain and some of the savings we've made by, as you mentioned, not replacing Dr. Harvey or not replacing Mr. Zokia, to use it in a way that it will have the most positive impact on students and on staff. So we don't want to rush to judgment. I can tell you that the first week of school, I got a number of calls and comments from principals saying how difficult things were with, for instance, arrival and dismissal, and now a few weeks later, those have been worked out. Lunch situation, at first some people felt it just can't do it, there's too many kids, made some changes, it's working well. So what we want to do is, before we rush to judgment, make a decision how we use whatever limited resources we have, that we make the right decision. And so I think they're being smart in letting things settle down and really assessing where those needs are. You mentioned, and I want to say this to the community because I was going to mention, it was on my list earlier and I decided not to say anything. You said, well, where did all those savings go? Let's not lose sight of the challenge we faced fiscally last year, and we will face this coming year. And that is to live within a tax cap that's been mandated and imposed by the state legislature and the governor. And where did those savings go from closing the 2 schools? It enabled this community to stay under the tax cap and not make some of the program sacrifices that many other districts have had to make around the state to get under the cap. So I think sometimes we're a little short-sighted in recognizing that we were able to keep our class sizes at the size that everybody has come to expect and wanted. And we did a really good job of that, I think. There are districts that, and I can tell you right here in the Islip cluster, that made significant increases in class size as a way to reduce staff and to save money to get under that tax cap. So I don't want us to lose the big picture. That's where those savings allowed us as a district to continue the programs that people have come to expect. So I think it's important to know that. We're working as closely as we can with the leadership at all of our schools to make sure we have a safe and appropriate situation. And I appreciate the comments you shared, and we will take those into account as we go forward.
The one thing I don't understand, Mr. Simon, if you said that we're keeping this money to keep us afloat for next year, which I understand, then why were administrators given $79,000 in stipends and raises?
Mrs. Larkin, I realize you weren't here last month, but the $79,000 that was expensed
Right.
also went with a savings of $150,000. So the net savings to the district from this latest reorganization was approximately $75,000. So by not hiring a director of elementary education and by splitting that work up and giving stipends to split the work up. We save the district a great deal of money.
I don't go with that because also the middle school, Beach Street, they have less than us. How many secretaries do they have? How many? They only have one nurse, but they have secretaries. Same thing with ups in DL. They don't have secretaries. Does Mrs. Morrison have a secretary? One. For 600 children. We have a part-time secretary.
I think that you raised really important points, Mrs. Larkin, and I think if I'm hearing the superintendent, and maybe I'm hearing what I want to hear, but I also have concern about the staffing levels at the elementary school. And I think that looking and working with the principals to see what the need is and addressing that need as we move forward is what the superintendent is trying to do. So I don't think anybody's arguing with your point that more help may be needed in different areas. You mentioned the nursing office, and I just have questions back up. When you originally started speaking, you had said that you had brought this up, that this was a concern of yours early on, and it was met with that we didn't need
If we
it.
had extra money, we would do it.
Okay.
Well, here we have extra money.
Right.
We just gave out a lot of money.
And we did save some money, and maybe that's where those resources need to go, so.
But that's why I wanted to bring it to the board.
And I
Because
appreciate
sometimes
that.
I think I'm talking to the wall.
I appreciate that, and again, it doesn't always get to that point, and maybe it shouldn't, maybe it should, I don't know. Superintendent seems to be discussing that with the principals in different avenues. I'm not privy, the board's not privy, but they seem to know that there may be needs in different areas at the elementary school. For example, adding the reading teacher at Manitowoc was just done because of the note level services that were needed there, so.
And as of 2 days ago, the nurses were told that they have to make the phone calls. They don't have to do the attendance, but they have to make the phone calls.
And so for me, I
So
would
that's
think, I would
administration.
think that the nurse, right, and the nurses may, talk to Mr. Haran, because that would be his department, right, the nurses.
He was
fall
told
under
to.
his-
He was told.
Right, and so he would then bring that to the superintendent and say, hey, look, we have a problem. in
And
nursing
again, it's gone nowhere. So
So-
that's why I did bring it up.
I
Well,
really
I
appreciate it.
don't think if it's gone nowhere would necessarily be fair. It hasn't been concluded yet. But as Mr. Simon indicated, there are discussions, they're making a decision. They'll come to the board with a recommendation, hopefully shortly, and we'll evaluate the need against what resources we have. And if there is a need and we have the ability, we will certainly support it.
But you have to understand that all the people that work for the district that make under $25,000, I mean, every time we have a contract, we have to fight for 1%. And then they read this. Doesn't go.